Hello and greetings. Good evening. Thank you for joining us to find out information about our teacher preparation program. I am Mari Harris, and I am the Director of Education Programs at UC Merced Extension. And it's nice to have you here as part of this conversation.
I'm Marissa Lopez, and I'm the Associate Director for Teacher Preparation.
So we've got some information that we'd like to share with you. And if you have any questions, like Amy said, please put them in the chat for us. Well, our mission at UC Merced Extension and our teacher preparation program, we exist because we want to develop culturally responsive educators. And you're going to hear us say that a lot. And the acronym is CRT. And we want to make sure that all of you are able to facilitate cross-disciplinary integrative learning to catalyze student potential and empowerment. It's all about making sure that our students have equity and access to information. Our vision, we aspire to be a recognized model for developing CRT, culturally responsive teachers, that are committed to empowering their students. We are aligned with the vision of the University of California, Merced, upholding 21st century priorities for interdisciplinary learning and public service. So we are an arm to the University of California. Our instructors, who are they? They deliver real world experience and guidance to help you prepare for the classroom with teaching knowledge and the confidence required to meet the goals of your selected preliminary credential track. You will benefit from the modeling of frontline K through 12 teachers who are navigating today's new classroom environment that is shaping the future of teaching. Our cohorts are small. Our first cohort commenced in fall of 2018 with 12 candidates. The average class size today is 6 to 10 per instructor. We take a lot of pride in having personalized instruction and access to your instructors. And we're conveniently located because our courses are held at our downtown campus center during normal operation, and that's usually after the school day. So our classes start at 4:30 in the afternoon.
All right, so we offer three different options for credentials: a multiple subjects credential, two different options, a multiple subjects credential and a single subjects credential, but there are options within the single subjects credential to earn an English, history, math, or science credential. The multiple subject credential, if you think about that one, you want to teach little guys, you want to be in an elementary school. Single subject credential is teaching the bigger guys, middle school or high school. But we also have a BCLAD authorization in Spanish, and this would authorize you to teach in a bilingual setting. And oftentimes a BCLAD authorization can lead to a stipend or additional money on your pay scale. There are three parts to a credential program. There are assessments that you take, coursework that you complete, and clinical practice, which is more commonly referred to as student teaching or internship or teaching on some other form of emergency credential. Now, in assessments, there are certain assessments that are typically taken before you start program, and then tests that are taken or assessments that are completed while you are in program before you finish. One of the tests that you take before program is the basic skills requirement, which is often met through the CBEST. That assessment measures your ability in math and writing and some verbal skills. It's basic skills requirement. It can also be met through SAT scores or ACT scores. So if you're interested in more information about that, please contact us. Then there is also the CSETs. The CSETs are given in subject matter competency to measure your ability at a college level. So if you want to teach single subject history, then you're going to take the 3 social science CSETs. If you're interested in teaching multiple subjects, which is the little guys, you would take 3 multiple subjects CSETs. So it just depends on what track you are on as to what assessment that you take. Right now, due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the closure of many non-essential, I guess they're considered non-essential businesses, testing centers have been closed. And so we are accepting applicants without these assessments done, so long as you can show that you were unable to complete these assessments due to COVID-19. And in your application, you would just write a short letter and upload that document. The Cal TPA 1 and 2 are required for all candidates, multiple and single subject. You complete those in conjunction with your faculty advisors, with other students, and with your cooperating teacher, what you work with during clinical practice. And then the RECA, which is a reading instruction assessment for California, and that's completed by multiple subject candidates only. Again, these are all assessments that are required either before program or during program. Your coursework. Those are classes that you take to become a teacher, and each student gets a course of study. And we expect students to be enrolled in fall, spring, and summer. Full time is 12 or more units. We typically take a few more units in the fall and the spring so we can have a lighter summer. So that way you can actually have some kind of a break in there. We usually try to do summer session A so you could be done before 4th of July. But some students choose to be part-time, and that's perfectly fine as well. We can develop a very personalized schedule just for you. And part-time is typically 6 to 11 units. The BCLAD authorization is an additional authorization that can be added to an existing credential or added to a credential that you're seeking if you're seeking your preliminary, and that's an additional 6 units that can be completed in one term. We just want to make sure that people understand that the BCLAD is not eligible for financial aid, but it is on a different fee structure as well. And we have more information about that if you are interested in the BCLAD. So this is a typical pathway for a multiple subjects credential candidate. These are the classes that a multiple subject candidate would typically take with their clinical practice or student teaching, which is time spent during the school day in a classroom, integrated in both the fall and the spring. Single subject credential pathway, again, and then the last slide looked a little bigger because multiple subject candidates have to cover more subjects than do single subject candidates. You just cover math, science, English, or history. So it's fewer units, but it does take about, you have to do the 2 semesters of the student teaching clinical practice time during the day. And again, it's a fall, spring, and summer. And the BCLAD authorization, it's 2 classes and a CSET. So you have to take the CSET in Spanish to show that you have the subject matter competency, and then the 2 courses, and it can be added to your credential. So if you decide to do like a multiple subjects credential, you complete your program, you start in the fall, spring, and then you do a summer term, and then the next fall you may choose to do your BCLAD, so that way you can add it on to the preliminary credential that you earned. Traditional student teaching. This is a fieldwork placement that our program makes for you. This is an unpaid internship in essence. It's a class that you take, and it's 600 hours over the course of 2 semesters where you work with a cooperating teacher at a school site, and you have a university mentor, someone who goes out and visits you or visits you via electronic means to observe you teach. Students can complete their clinical practice remotely during the COVID-19 pandemic situation until further notice, in accordance with their school's requirement. If the school is open, then students have the option of attending their clinical practice placement site, which is completely at the discretion of the district. We do not have students go out to sites if they're uncomfortable, but the district, they usually give good direction to our candidates, and as long as we follow all the all the health recommendations that the districts are putting out, then we are safe and comfortable. For those of you that are UC Merced graduates or still at UC Merced, there is an option for the NSED minor, the Natural Sciences and Education minor, and there are some benefits to completing this minor. Your application fee is waived. The courses, NSED 100, 120, 130, and 150 are all part of the single subject and the multiple subject programs. So if you complete those classes in the minor, then you will have an equivalency granted for the classes in our course sequence as well. Save some time and also save some money, because you complete the program with materials that you completed in your bachelor's degree. So again, you can complete your program in under a year and you save on tuition. So some estimated pre-program costs, the CBEST, if it's necessary, it's about $102, and the multiple subject C sets, there's 3 of them. It's about $300 total. The single subject C sets, it depends on what subject matter you're going after. There could be 2 tests, there could be 4 tests. It just depends on what your subject matter area is, and it's about $300. To be out in a school site or to be around children, you have to have a negative TB test. And in order to get that test, there may be a doctor's copay. Live scan, a certificate of clearance and a live scan. Children are considered a vulnerable population. You have to be clear to the Department of Justice in order to be able to be placed in a school setting. So we will need to have fingerprints run and get a certificate of clearance. But if you already possess a substitute teacher permit, we can accept that as well. And due to the COVID-19, CBEST and CSETs are deferred until August 31st, 2021, unless otherwise notified. So because our deadline is before August 31st, that we have our January deadline, those CBEST and CSET are deferred for fall. But you will need to complete testing by August 31st, 2021.
These are estimated program costs, and I just want to emphasize they're estimated program costs, because some of these fees you will pay and it will be customized for you in the program. So some will be that you have to pay and some will be that you don't because of the program that you've chosen to follow. Our application fee is $50. And the candidacy fee is $50. And that's a fee that you have at the very end of the program as we're getting ready to recommend you for credentialing. The estimated program tuition is $450 per unit fee. So with no campus-based fees attached, because you are not paying for the medical on campus, you're not paying for the library, you're just paying directly to what you need to take, which are the courses for the teacher preparation program. Single subject candidate cost with the NSED minor, you need 23 units. So that cost would be approximately $10,350. Without the NSED minor, you're taking 35 units as a single subject candidate, and that would be $15,750. A multiple subject candidate cost with the NSED minor, 35 units, $15,750. And without an NSED minor, 41 units, equivalent to $18,450. And we're estimating here what your book costs will be. It would really be up to you and how you can access the information. So textbooks and materials could cost you $500, and that's give or take. The RECA course is about $130 for case study assessment, $165 for the video assessment. And see, these are all estimated costs again. Cal TPA cycles 1 and 2, this is pretty certain. These fees are $150 each, so that's a total of $300, and both cycles are required in our program. CPR course, if necessary, that fee would be $35 to $100. That is something that's flexible. Your Constitution exam, some of you have taken this in your college courses and you've already done this, but if you need to take it, the estimate is $85. And filing for your preliminary credential with CTC can be anywhere from $55 to $102. Units are dependent again on previous coursework and field work. So all of this is, like we said, we customize your course of study, and that will inform you as to how much you will have to pay. Financial aid, yes, you can get financial aid to participate in our program. The application is the same FAFSA that's required on campus at all UCs and all higher ed institutions, fafsa.ed.gov. And also for our dreamers, we have the dream.csac.ca.gov as well. So that application can also be in. Take a picture of this if you need more information. Lauren Hogan is our financial aid liaison, and so she can always help you with information that you need to customize it for your needs. The types of aid that we have Pell Grant, Of course, it's limited and based off of prior receipt and family income. Your Teach grant requires 3.25 GPA. Your Cal grant, it's limited again based off of prior Cal grant eligibility. Subsidized loan, limited based off of prior borrowing, and your unsubsidized loan. All of these are customized to whatever you've taken out in the past versus what your needs are now. Things to know: your transcripts are required to determine your financial aid eligibility, so submit them early. Financial aid is based on enrollment, half-time or full-time. So if you're enrolling half-time, you're going to get not as much financial aid as you would get enrolled full-time. And most candidates in our program are awarded a combination of grants and loans. Hopefully this has explained everything that you need to know about the financial aid assistance that we provide in our program. She's the one who's directly attached to our program, who can help you with further information. Your application will include all of these things: 2 statements of purpose, 3 letters of recommendation, certificate of clearance, an unofficial transcript until you're enrolled in program, then we'll ask for an official one, basic skills assessment. And at this point in time, the center is not open, so this is deferred. Your subject matter competency, once again, testing centers are not open. This is deferred, but has to be taken and passed before we can recommend you for a credential. Fieldwork verification, we know that with many centers being closed, many schools or opportunities to get this fieldwork experience are not available to you. So some of these can be waived, and we can still allow you in program. But if you've done church, if you've done volunteer work, if you've been babysitting, there are all different kinds of ways to accomplish this fieldwork experience. We just want to make sure that whatever you choose to do, get a multiple subject or single subject, that you've worked with that age level, because that experience is important, because you're putting a lot of money and effort out of getting that particular credential. So we want you to understand that age group. Once your application is submitted, we will interview you. We will offer you admission. We will provide advising on what we think what courses you should be taking to achieve your goal. There will be an orientation about how our program operates, and then you'll be able to start the program. So all of these things are really important. This is a part of the application process. And the 45 hours, we're hoping that that fieldwork verification, those 45 hours, are within the age group, as we said, or even in the subject matter that you're interested in teaching. So all of this is important, because this will align you in a way that you will be successful going after the credential that you seek. Okay, and the next one. And so our deadline is January 31st for fall 2021. So if you are interested, we'd love to have you. This is a great time. People wonder about this time, especially with everything being virtual and distance learning being the mode of how students are learning. This is a very unique time in education. And this experience was completely brand new to me. Going through a credentialing program, I never had an opportunity to do distance learning or virtual teaching. So believe me, you are entering into a whole new world in the way that we inform teachers and that we credential teachers. So we're getting more candidates than we've ever had, and we look forward to the next generation of teachers having this great skill. And if there are any questions, we would be glad to answer those.
Do you want to, Marissa, clarify, just so everyone's clear, that the per unit fee is inclusive of those program costs that we have on our cost sheet slide?
So we just go by the unit. There are no university fees. So when we say you're taking 10 units, it's 10 times $450. And
yes.
I was not a math teacher, so even with those, but truly, it is just literally however many, if you sign up for however many units times 450, that is your your tuition. There are additional costs associated with that if you have a textbook or any other materials. And that's where that $500 kind of comes into place, where we just, because we like to overestimate, it's always good to kind of put that aside, but truly it's $450 for one unit. However many units you are enrolled in, that's the cost.
Okay, we have another question for you. What causes an applicant to be denied from entering the program?
To be denied is really meaning that you're not getting in all of the required documentation, or you're unable to complete the assessments. But at this point in time, as we said, all of those assessments are being deferred until August 31, 2020. We have governor's permission as an executive order that we can continue to train teachers, and all of these assessments will be due at the time that this executive order ends, which is August 31st, 2021.
Yeah.
So
and I was going to say, in addition to that, you do have to sit for a panel interview, and the panel has to deem that you are in the right space and in the right place. And so your panel interview will consist of instructors or mentors or administrators in our program, and they will assess you based on a series of questions that we ask every candidate, and kind of feel people out and see if they're in the right place and in the right space. So like Dr. Harris was saying, if you don't have all the proper materials, or if you are not suited in an interview, that would cause someone to be looked at carefully and maybe asked to reapply at a different time, or deferred, or rejected.
Great. We have another question for you. Would being a mentor during high school conferences apply to the fieldwork verification?
Were you a high school student? We ask that students have that experience recently within the last 5 years. If you were a high school student at the time, then probably not. We're looking for a capacity of you being an adult and working with children. So it just depends. If you were a mentor and you were out of high school and doing something while you were in college, then that definitely could count.
Great. We have another question for you. To be clear, I do not need to be an alumni of UC Merced to apply to this program.
Oh, no.
Definitely, yeah.
No. Our program is open to any college graduate. Yes.
And we're kind of, and it's almost like a 50-50 split with UC Merced alumni and others coming from different universities. And it makes for a really nice mix.
Okay, let's see. We have another question for you. Is the interview in person or through Zoom?
Everything is via Zoom right now. The university has, we go with the health restrictions of the local area, and the university has said that they are planning to hold courses remotely through, I believe, through summer, but for sure through spring. And so as long as those limitations are in place, we will follow the guidelines of the university.
All right. Does the teaching grant GPA of 2.5 only count for your undergraduate degree, or am I able to submit my master's degree GPA as for the teaching grant?
As far as those, I'm not 100% sure, and I don't know if you know, Dr. Harris, but I know that the financial aid department would be the best contact for that.
I would contact them.
Yeah, and so they could give you that information, but I don't want to say yes or no.
Yeah, I don't want to say. I know that usually they look at your most recent, but especially if you've gone beyond the bachelor's degree, but let's make sure. So if you would contact financial aid to see how they're going to weigh your GPA, that would be good.
And the question about the mentor in high school, he was mentoring while he was in college.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good.
All right. Through this program, if selected, we become a UC Merced student, correct?
That is correct. You are a UC Merced graduate student. Yes. We get the ID, right? They get the student ID, the whole thing. Yes.
During undergrad, when do you recommend beginning to take the required exams and studying for them?
If you're an undergrad student, and especially at this time where most of the testing centers are closed, the only thing I would do, because we are hearing that some testing centers in certain regions are opening up for CSET or potentially even the CBEST, I would look around online, and it does not hurt to be proactive and start taking and registering for those assessments now, because some of the centers get filled. And so this would give you plenty of time to have a runway to be successful with those assessments.
And typically, like in a non-COVID time, we typically do accept students without having completed all CSETs. It's a conditional acceptance, and they have to have them completed before they enter into their final stage of student teaching. But in typical times, we do not accept anyone without CBEST. So if you are an undergraduate, maybe that would be the first step, is getting that CBEST passed, because once you pass the CBEST, it's good for life. And once you have, I believe it's 90 units in a CBEST, you can get a substitute teaching permit. And so that might be another way to get your early field experience as well. If you have, maybe a day or two off a week and you would like to earn some income and go and substitute teach.
All right, we have another question. Do we have to complete a summer semester, or would we be able to tailor the program to a fall, spring 2-semester completion?
It would be too many units to do it in fall and spring, and some of our classes are only offered during summer, but there are possibilities of doing a fall, spring, and then another fall, because you can't take 20 something units in 2 semesters to be able to finish the 41 units in 2. So, but what we do, like, it's a 6-week intersession during the summer. So it's like the month of June and we're out by 4th of July. But it is a 1-year intensive program. So yeah.
All right, we have another question. Which single subject teachers are most in demand in this area? And are your graduates finding jobs quickly? And what is the starting salary range?
That's a good question. Very good question.
Along with the rest of California, a lot of those math, science positions are definitely in demand. English and history are behind them a little bit, but there are definitely openings depending upon what time of year it is. The best place to look for teaching jobs is edjoin.org, and that's where districts post all of their openings across the state. And every district is just a little bit different for starting salary range. And if you're interested in finding out that information, you can Google the Merced. I know of Merced Mariposa Teachers Uniserve Council, and they have all of the pay scales of districts that are in the Merced and Mariposa counties. And so you can usually find the pay, scales and the salary schedules on that site, or you can go sometimes to the district's websites and you can kind of Google and see. But everybody's a little bit different, but I would say maybe different. A range would be like from 40 to 50.
Yeah, for a beginning teacher, yes.
$40,000 to $50,000.
Yeah.
With benefits. So
yes, with all the benefits. Teachers usually have very good benefits, and all of these, this is definitely there's a scale. So with the more units that you have after you become a teacher, you can move up that scale. There are other opportunities to be an administrator, to get different kinds of credentialing, authorizations. So there's a lot of career growth that goes with being a teacher.
Yeah, and the units that you earn in your credential program will count for salary typically, because it's usually they count it at bachelor's degrees to start, and then every 15 or 20 units they usually move up the scale. So it just depends on the district. Every district has the prerogative to be a little different.
Yeah. Even when I think about subbing, I'm in Sacramento, California. Subs here make $150 a day. So the sub fees are even different depending on the different districts and the demand. And because there is a teacher shortage, they're looking to replace teachers in the next few years. And that's one of the reasons the executive order's in place. The governor does not want us to stop training those who want to be teachers. He wants to keep moving people through the system because the demand is there.
And as to our graduates, real quick, all but one are currently working as teachers.
They're all working
right now. And I would say about 15 or 20 out of our 50 candidates that we currently have in program are interns working full-time teaching jobs. So we've had very good success rate with a lot of our candidates. And yeah, and I think the one student that's not working full-time is staying home being a mommy. So
yeah.
Not for any bad reasons, not
No,
yeah.
not for any bad reason.
Yeah,
Being a mom
We've
right
been
now.
very lucky.
Yeah.
We've been very, very fortunate that in 2 years of the program's existence, we are moving on a nice fast track with our candidates being in demand in the Central Valley.
Okay, we have another question. How a regular schedule works is we do student teaching in the morning and then classes at night. Question. And this might be a stretch, but what school locations are we limited? Is it only schools located in the Merced area?
we have partnerships with close to 30 some districts.
Yes, we do.
From as far south as San Diego. What am I thinking, Dr. Harris? You guys San Diego. In Los Angeles, all the way up through San Joaquin, up in the Sacramento area.
And so Fresno, we've got a partnership with Fresno.
San Jose. So we do have lots of different partnerships with different districts. So it doesn't have to just be the Merced area, but we do have quite a few partnerships, obviously in the Central Valley and in the Merced area, because that's where our program is primarily located. Yeah, so typically students in their first part of student teaching will student teach like 2 days a week, or an average of like 12 to 13 hours a week. And then in the second part, they do a lot more of the student teaching. That the first part requires 200 hours. The second part requires 400 hours. So when you do schedule your classes, all of our coursework is in the evening, but to complete that clinical practice, it has to occur during the school day.
After someone graduates from this program, they are certified in all ways to become a teacher, or are there more requirements after taking this program?
No, you are a credentialed teacher. Marissa is the one who recommends. So once you have completed everything, Marissa's the one who turns all of your documents into Commission on Teacher Credentialing. That's what we mean when we say CTC. And that you become an official teacher. And you have a preliminary teaching credential. So that means that within the 5 years, that credential is good for 5 years. In that 5 years, you have to do what we call an induction plan, and you have to clear your credential.
Right. So you do an induction program where they assign you a mentor and you work on different standards within the teaching profession. And once you complete that program, you're eligible for what's called a clear credential, and that credential is renewable. So every 5 years, you pay your $100 and some and you get your credential again.
Yeah, that's what both of us do.
Yep.
So that credentials.
Does the school district handle the induction program, or how does that work?
Typically, yes.
Typically, yes.
But you can also find your own induction program. A lot of districts pay for induction for their candidates, but they're not required to. But it's usually a nice bonus around this area that they pay for your induction.
Yeah.
That's good to know. All right, we did touch on this. Do most students go on to hold teaching positions after the program?
Oh, yes.
100%, yes.
Yeah.
They're good to go.
Yeah.
And they have been good to go.
Yes.
Can you specify who is qualified or possible candidates to write our letter of recommendation? That's actually a good question.
That is a good question.
We are looking for professional letters of recommendation, former professors, employers. We all know that your grandma thinks you're going to be a great teacher, but she's not necessarily qualified to write you your letters of recommendation. So we're looking for professional letters, people that know you in that capacity. A pastor or a minister or an employer or someone that, like I said, someone that knows you in a professional capacity.
Are coursework classes offered online pre-COVID and during COVID?
During COVID, we're doing remote instruction, which is via Zoom, kind of in this, kind of environment. But before COVID, we were an in-person program and we
Yes.
were held at the downtown campus center, but students do have the option to Zoom into class if they are interested in a distance learning platform. But we didn't have anyone that was, so we're primarily an in-person program.
What does becoming an intern look like within your program?
So in typical years, to become an intern, there are certain requirements. And the biggest requirement for typical years is having passed all CSETs. Right now, with the executive order, candidates can become an intern without CSETs, but that's only through August of 2021. Yes. So definitely need those CSETs. Mm-hmm. And also need to be enrolled in our program and have completed 9 units. So you would be able to be intern eligible after you complete 9 units of coursework. And we would certify to the state that you have completed those units and met the other requirements. I believe the CPR certification and the Constitution requirement are all required as well for the intern credential. Be an intern, that's when you go out and find a job. Mm-hmm. You don't find internships for anybody. You go out and find this job, you bring your job to us, and we file for the credential on your behalf.
If we choose single subject, is it recommended to acquire a letter of rec from that professor of study? So if I choose English, should I ask an English professor to write my letter of recommendation?
I think the biggest thing about those letters of recommendation is just find somebody that knows you in that professional capacity. Mm-hmm. If you're wanting to be an English teacher, but you were an anthropology major, it might be difficult to find an English teacher, but you're really passionate about English. So you can get any professor or anyone that knows you in that professional capacity to write you a letter. It's always good to have the subject matter support you as well. But again, we're just looking for professional letters of recommendation.
I am a UC Merced graduate and I'm interested in the NSED minor. Can you go over this briefly once again?
The NSED minor is usually completed as an undergrad, correct?
Yeah, that's an undergrad. Yeah, that's only offered as for undergrads at UC Merced.
Yeah.
So are you still in school? Is the person still in school?
No, he graduated.
Oh, no. Those are courses that are offered now for those who are still enrolled at UC Merced and choose to go into the NSED undergrad minor.
And we offer the same classes that the NSED minor offers. So, and we have a lot of our candidates. I mean, it's actually a smaller portion that complete the NSED minor and come to our program than do. But if you are interested in our program, but you weren't an NSED minor, what you would do is you just take those classes in our program. Right. It's not a big thing. It's just good information for students that are still, in their undergraduate program that are thinking about doing the NSED minor, because there are some benefits to that minor coming into our program.
All right. Since all courses are at the downtown center, will there ever be a need to go to the main campus for this program?
If you don't pay your fees on time, no, I'm just kidding. There are some times where we do actually have offices on main campus, and with the 2020 project. So, and there are classrooms that are designated to us at main campus, but we're really close to the parking lot, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, but it's not too bad. Yeah. You know what? I want to leave that option open.
Yeah.
At the present time, the downtown center is where we have our classes, but we do have the option to have courses, specialized courses on campus. If we want to use a laboratory to do some science experiments or do some pedagogy teaching that we want to do on campus, we can do that there. So we have that option. We're part of the UC Merced family, so we have space on campus if we want to use it.
And we definitely, if we did ask students to go to main campus, it would be on the syllabus and it would be part of the plan. So it wouldn't be like, okay, guys, next week we're on campus.
Right, exactly.
That's not how it goes. So don't worry, it would be. But we are primarily, and I would say majority of the time, going to be at the downtown campus center.
Yeah.
And that's by design also to help accommodate
student teaching,
busy professionals who are working. easy access on and off the freeway, little places to get coffee and snacks before or after class or during breaks, in those evenings, sometimes if you have back-to-back classes. So, and it's a nice campus. It's safe and secure down there, and it's a really cool building as well. So just throw that in there. Let's see. I know that some universities offer programs where students can complete their CSET verification. Does UC Merced have one?
Unfortunately, no. I'm not sure if any of the UCs really do. It's mostly granted at CSU. So what you would do, what you would do is complete like a bachelor's degree with a CSET waiver embedded into it. But UC Merced does not have that program available.
Dr. Harris, if you want to talk a little bit about, we touched a little bit about it, but entering a program during a time of COVID and what advantages that's going to give this cohorts coming into the program as we navigate a very different world on the outside right now.
Yeah, it's important, and I really believe this. We're in different times in education. I know in my 25 years, there was not this opportunity to do the kind of virtual teaching and distance learning that is going on in the schools today. But what I really believe is happening to this new generation of teachers who will get this skill is I don't really think it's going to go away 100%. I really think that what you're doing is you're embedding in a process something that can work. I think about those years when I was a principal and we had every Wednesday, the students would leave half day so that we can do professional development. Why would they not take their computers and continue some of this learning at home? And I really think that you're going to see many districts continue distance learning or doing things remotely so that they can have full access to what students should know and be able to do. It won't be just that we have to be on campus. There may be days dedicated to being a virtual learner so that this thing where we had to drop everything in March and then continue without the kind of confidence that students needed to be distance learners, I think that is the kind of thing that's going to go away. We will always have our students prepared to do different modalities of learning. And I think that's what you're going to see. And I think you're equipped with this new skill to be able to make that happen.
It's a good time. And we do have a couple more questions that came in. Do you have an estimate of the acceptance rate into this program?
I feel like we've been very fortunate to have so many qualified and passionate and excited professionals apply to this program that we have a pretty decent acceptance rate, because it's like we do these interviews and I'm excited to see what kind of a teacher they're going to become, and I want to see these candidates develop, and so we have a pretty good acceptance rate.
And one thing I can say about Marissa and myself, we're on the interview panel, and we really are. We're both teachers. If you put our years together, I'm sure it's about 50 years of experience between the two of us. But let me just say, we know what it looks like. We've been there, done that. So we're looking to be able to put people out in schools who really bring what we think of as culturally responsive educators and sensitive to the needs of all students. So we can tell in the interview if you're a person who is driven with passion around working with young people. Because in this profession, you have to like kids. If you don't like them, we'll be able to tell in the conversation that, if they're not hitting it. Nah, they're not
Probably not the profession for those who do not like the little ones.
It's true. Because as Marissa says, she thinks of it as, hey, would I put this person in front of my own child? If not, nah, it doesn't work. But if so, it's like, hey, we want to take this person and develop them into the teacher that we want to share with the greater California community.
That's great. We have a really good question that came in. What do you look for in a statement of purpose? What are the traits of an ideal candidate?
And I think that Dr. Harris hit that one just a moment ago. We don't expect you to know all the stuff about teaching. Like, that's what you're in this program for, to like learn that stuff.
That's right.
But what we can see very quickly is passion, is ability to an openness to learning, and truly the excitement about teaching and educating and working with children and understanding that. And to me, I do this because I believe that education can change the world.
Yeah.
And a good, strong foundation comes from K-12 to lead students to college, to career, and beyond. And that's what we're here for. We're here to shape the future, to
That's right.
touch touch everything that comes out of this area, because we are in a school setting. So when we look at those statements of purpose, we're looking for, I don't want you to write in there, I want to be a teacher because I want summers off and like those aren't the things we're looking for. We're looking for like what you're going to do in between, and the passion that you have for reading, and that you are an avid history, and you want to instill that passion in someone else. So Dr. Harris, anything to add?
Everything that you said, Marissa, you're one thing about it is you're actually with people who have been there. We've been there. We model what good teaching is, because we're both instructors in this program as well. So you need to know that part. We're instructors. We still have current credentials. And we've got a wide array of experiences to bring. I mean, I had a multiple subject credential, like some of you want to acquire. And I became a high school principal with a multiple subject credential. And I'm telling you, all of it was evolving, but it was my passion for education that came through in the work that I did on the campuses that I served.
And I had a multiple subjects credential, and I was a terrible elementary school teacher. I was a much better single subject English teacher that I did with a multiple subject credential and an additional authorization. I learned very quickly I was not a second grade teacher. But I was definitely good with those 8th graders and doing English and lots of different writing projects and such. And so and that's part of why that early field experience is so important. You might have this like vision, like I truly had this vision of myself with like a bunch of 2nd graders sitting around me and reading a story, but like there's so many things that I just didn't care about. Like, he's not my friend and she's not being nice. I'm like, my new friend. You can do that to an 8th grader, but a 2nd grader, you devastate them.
That's true.
So that's why that pre-program experience is so important, because you get to really figure out what it is that you want to do, not just what you think.
All right. Well, if there are, we'll give it a minute. If anybody else has anything else they want to ask, and while you're all contemplating that, I can say as a child of educators growing up, it was wonderful to have parents who were teachers. My dad was 7th grade algebra, which math was always my worst subject. So that was summers of flashcards. I'm still traumatized. And my mom was 4th grade, which was her absolute favorite grade. She taught a lot of different ones, but she to this day still shares a lot of stories of her teaching career. And you're so much more than just a teacher to a lot of these kids. You're a source of safety, assurance, guidance, mentor. I mean, you really are leaving an imprint on these little people that we all have a teacher that we remember that really impacted us. Maybe if we're lucky, multiple teachers that impacted our lives.
It's true.
So I think it's one of the most noble professions you can get into. And I always kick myself that I didn't go do it. It's not too late. I can enter the
Never
program.
too late. Never too late. Never too late.
So, anyways, and our program's great. Marissa and Dr. Harris are really great in the program. There, you get really one-on-one, individualized attention. They work really closely with all of their candidates all the way through completion. So, and normally we do have candidates come and talk to our classes if they're available. And they're some of our best marketing people, because they really benefited from the program and had such a wonderful experience. So we encourage all of you to apply. Take this time to gather your information that you need to submit, letters of rec, etc. So what I'll do is tomorrow I'll be emailing out a thank you for attending email. It'll include tonight's PowerPoint presentation, this video, and links to get a hold of financial aid if you have any questions, and our email address for general inquiries in case you're thinking of stuff in the meantime that you want to ask us. So we are here for you all the way through to the end, to the classroom.
Yeah, we hope to see all these names coming into our fall program.
Let's see. Oh, do you have a good one? One last one before we close. Do you have any words of encouragement for those like myself who do not have any family or friends in the education field?
Wow. Wow. You know, the best experience is still your own personal experience. You know what you like in a teacher, and you know what you have not thrived with an instructor. So I really say that if your passion was you just enjoyed being with certain people, what was it about that person that inspired you? What was it about that person that attracted you or made you never want to let them down? And those are the qualities that you'll want to take with you and remember as you come into the teaching profession. And really, a lot of our candidates, when we interview them, many of them say that it was some teacher that made an impression on me that just would not go away and made me say that, you know what, I want to be like that person. It inspired me so much. When Amy was talking about her parents being teachers, my mother was a teacher. She was a PE teacher. And I loved it because she was also the basketball coach. So to see your mother go to school and love it and had her, what at those times, what we'd call it, jogging suits on. And I just would sit in the stands and watch her coach. And, you know, as a kid, just really, really enjoyed that profession because I saw it as being fun and I saw it as being motivating and all the kids loved what she did. So those experiences stayed with me. And I'm blessed to be the oldest of three girls, and all of us are teachers, and my two sisters are at junior colleges as professors there. But, you know, so that, how do you say, modeling from my mother was impressionable enough to make us choose that as a career. So for you, take what you know about what impressed you about the teachers who you did have.
And I was a first generation college student. I'm the first in my family to have earned a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and now I'm seeking a doctorate degree. And being the first in my family and also being the oldest child helped to lead the other children behind me. My siblings are all college graduates now as well. And out of a very large family where I have um, more than 35 first cousins,
Wow.
out of all of us, my siblings and I are the only ones with college degrees.
Wow.
And so, you know, being the first to do something, being is you don't know who you're inspiring that's looking at you. And it was funny because it did, you know, honestly, like that didn't even occur to me until this past weekend when I was in class and we were talking. They were like, because you went to college, you made it easier for your brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh, maybe they owe me. But truly, you know, it is something that, you know, you don't know who's looking at you.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily know. And so being the first in my family, it did really make a difference for the others coming after me, and my sons, they're watching me now.
Yeah. So Daniel, you can go and inspire someone that's going to be watching you someday in class.
That's right.
Say, you know, I want to be just like that teacher and leave a mark like I felt. So
Yeah,
it's your path to create.
that's true.
For our meeting. And okay. Hi, Dan. I remember your email. I have your email name. I'm the one that emails everybody. So thanks again for coming. We super appreciate it. And look for an email from us tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, reach out to us and we will keep an eye out on your applications coming in.
That's right. We expect to see them, all of them.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming. Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Have a great Thanksgiving and safe.
Be safe.
All right. Bye-bye.